السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Welcome sisters.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, teacher.
How are you doing? Fine. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Alhamdulillah. Right, inshallah, we hope the quiz was difficult. It was fine. How was the quiz?
Alhamdulillah, it's the quiz is fine. Everything was in the lecture.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. All right. We did some modification on the dates, inshallah. Before we put that the exam for the midterm is going to be on 18th, but we made it on 11th for the next week. We're going to do the midterm, inshallah. So we will have lecture from 1 to 6, which you already had the lecture 4 and 5 exam. And today's lecture is going to be included for the next week exam as a midterm. So inshallah, even the midterm is going to be light, and we will try to see if after the midterm we could have the exam, or we can make the midterm open. We can do our lecture, and then whoever wants to continue can continue the exam later on. So we can keep it open for the midterm for the day, so that we don't miss our class. Then we're gonna have on the 25th, the September, one quiz, and there is October one quiz. And then on 16th of October, instead of November, because the last final exam was on November. So we made it a little bit earlier. Inshallah, we're gonna finish in September, in October. We'll try our best to finish in October. If any changes could happen in the schedule to make the material more lighter, so we'll do that. Then once we do the midterm, I will remind you, it will not be included in the final exam, okay? So whatever we had in the midterm, it will be in the midterm. And the sisters who didn't finish the quizzes, quiz 1, quiz 2, quiz 3, they can do it in the midterm day. And then after that, it will be closed. Then we will have the final exam, whatever the remaining, that it will be from the quizzes and the final exam. And we will have the redo test for the students. We will announce for them who didn't perform very well in the exam. We can tell them. And as we promise, the students have one chance in improving one of the quizzes. So they can improve one of their quizzes, okay? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sister Maria. Right. Inshallah, all the best, inshallah. So we'll try to make it more, to finish it before November. And in the beginning of October, we'll try to finish it, inshallah. All right, so today's lecture, subhanallah, one of the important lectures, I would say, because it's important to understand such kind of things. And Islam has a wide knowledge. It has a wide open doors where Allah Azza wa Jal, He's asking us to do things. And if you're capable to do it, do it. If you're not capable to do it, then it's not required from you to do it. So today we're gonna take the type of Mandoob. The type of Mandoob. Mandoob, as you know, it is things, sometimes we hear the people, they say it is mustahab, or it is like sunnah, or it is like something preferable to do it. It is not something that if you didn't do it, it's like considered committing a sin. So we're going to see the types of Mandoob. What are the types? Are they all the same, or they're actually different, or all the names are the same? And what is required from us? Are we really, it is required from us, from Allah Azza wa Jal and the Prophet? Did they say that we shall do the Mandoob? We need to see the evidence to confirm what we need to do. So we'll start, inshallah. The first thing is obligatory matters can be applied unless specific things to be occur. So what do we mean by that? I mean by that is there is some obligatory things Allah Azza wa Jal, He asks us to do. For example, the prayer, the 5 prayers. He asks us to do the five prayers. He asks us to fast Ramadan. But those things are not applied or considered, or we are asked to do it unless the time enters. Meaning, if the time of the salah, it's not yet Asr. So I'm not asked to do Asr prayer. If I didn't see the hilal of Ramadan, I'm not asked to fast Ramadan. So it will not be considered unless there is another things happens or occurs, like a sign to that, then I can do it. But if it didn't appear, it didn't come, then I am not asked to do it. This is what everyone agrees about it. If it didn't come, for example, Ramadan didn't come, so I'll be waiting till Ramadan. Yes, I'm asked to do Ramadan, but Ramadan didn't come, so I have to wait till Ramadan comes and fast Ramadan. So I'm not asked to do any kind of fasting now till Ramadan comes. So this is what logic says. So there is things Allah Azza wa Jal, He didn't ask us to do it unless it occurs. Another things comes with it that I can start doing it. All right. So there's the first thing is commanded to do it and not obligated to do it. What does it mean? Commanded to do it, like the conditions of the prayer. Like if I'm commanded to do the prayer, then I need to do wudu. If I didn't do wudu or I didn't find the water, then how can I perform the prayer? That's why sometimes there is a degree. If you didn't find water, then you find the sand. Once the water comes, then you shall not use the sand. But if you don't have the sand, you don't have the water, then it's not recommended to you. It's not commanded to you. You're not asked to do the prayer if you don't have those things to remove whatever, to be in a state of pure or to have the wudu. How can you pray without having the wudu? So it's not recommended to you. Till you have it, then you're asked to have it, or you are asked to do it. All right, this is commanded. The obligatory things that cannot be done without it. So I'm asked to do it. If the condition of the prayer it is available, then I can do my salah. For example, she had her period and she finished the period. So she cannot go and perform the prayer at the same time unless she goes and make the ghusl. So till she does the ghusl, then she has to do the prayer. She's asked to do it, yes, but how she can do it if she's not in a state of pure? Now, second thing, not obligated to do it, like the conditions of the zakah. Zakah has different varieties, not the normal zakat al-mal. We're not talking about the zakat al-mal or zakat, the normal thing like zakat al-fitr. We are talking about, there is another type of zakah. For example, there is a zakah, if you get it, then it's required from you to do it. For example, you have a yard, and the yard has, for example, fruits, vegetable. So what it says in Islam, if you get the fruits and vegetable at that year, then it's requested from you to take fifth, yani 1/5 of that for the zakah. But if you didn't get anything from the land, it's not required from you to give that zakah. And there is another type, is like the bird treasures. Sometimes, like you hear about the pharaohs, whenever they dig or they find a treasure, or there is a place they found a treasure. So if you find a treasure from anything from the ancient, we are asked as Islam to give zakah for that. And how much the amount? Again, 1/5 of that is nothing, almost. Okay, 1/5 of that, whatever from the crops and fruit or from the treasure that we get. So it's not about only till 1 year. There is, yes, till the 1 year, but if the 1 year I didn't get anything from that, or I didn't find anything, then it is not required for me to do it. Even for zakat al-mal. Zakat al-mal, if I have the money, but if I don't have the money I'm not requested to do it. All right. So the Islam is light. Islam is light. It doesn't ask us to give money all the time or something till you get it. Then you take little bit from that and then give it for the zakah. That's it. If it didn't happen, then it's not requested from you to do it. So I hope, inshallah, this slide, it is clear. And for example, some people requested from them, if they have a sheep, for example, if it is above 40 sheep, then they can give, or they do zakah for that. If it is less than that, they don't do the zakah. Or if they have gold, okay, if it is more than something, so they are requested from them to give the gold. If it is less than, then they are not requested to give the gold and also the silver. Now, there is some things are forbidden. Actually, it is halal to use it, but it will be forbidden to use it or to have it unless with those things. When the things are forbidden to be used and it is halal at the same time. For example, we're going to say a lighter, you know, the lighter for when we want to use the lighter, usually people, they use the lighter, for example, for the cigarette. So if I bought the lighter for the cigarette, for the intention of the cigarette, then that lighter is haram. The money which I expended to buy this thing is haram. I bought this flat, يعني, for example, astaghfirullah, يعني, to have to bring males inside the house, for example, just to stay and to have fun instead of sitting in the يعني, I'm not recommending, but I'm just saying, for example, I just had this intention of having this place for a certain reason, like bringing the male inside the house, for example. And instead of going to bad areas, I'm having good intention and at the same time it is a bad intention. You know, instead of sitting in the cafeterias and things like that, why shall I not invite the people that we can have more fun inside the house? That is not allowed. So even that, the thing which we went through it is haram. It doesn't mean that I have to throw it, or you can correct it. Yani that lighter, instead of that intention, you can do another thing and stop that intention that we used to do. Or the flat, instead of doing such a kind of things, then we change it to something else. Right? And one of the examples is the vinegar. Okay, so for example, I brought the grapes and I want from this grapes, if I have the intention of making it an alcohol, then it is haram. But if I have the intention of making this grapes for fermentation to produce vinegar, to keep it in a way that it shall be converted to vinegar, then it is allowed. So it depends on the intention. Your intention can make the halal thing, which it is allowed, to forbidden. So we need to be careful. Or sometimes the people who sit with the female and male together, this is haram. Yani it's not allowed. Yani the lady, when she sits, or the male, for example, in the offices, what is happening? Like they sit in one room, it is closed. Okay, male and female, they talk to each other and then they take their these kind of things. I mean, there is al-khulwa, they call it al-khulwa. Okay, there is a degree. Okay, if they want to talk, they talk with a boundary, whether it is through the emails, through the phone, if the person needs something, they just need to finish it. But just to talk and have fun, like, okay, let us have something to eat, let us have something to drink. Like now, the lifestyle, which it is changing, which everybody sees it as a normal thing, and it is an advanced kind of mentality or open-minded. They sit in cafeterias, they go together, they go for movies, these kind of things, which it is not allowed. All right, we go to the next slide, inshallah. All right, Mandoob, types of Mandoob. Now we heard a lot of Mandoob. Mandoob, is it the same thing? So let us understand what is Mandoob. Mandoob is a call to do for a doer, the person who does it, to call him to do this thing. Yani Mandoob, because we're gonna go through kind of ayat and evidence, Allah Azza wa Jal, He's asking us to do such kind of things. So usually mandoob in Arabic is like call to a doer to do it, and to call a person to do something. This is what is mandoob. Like even if you notice, even this mandoob, it is in many things. Like nowadays, if you want somebody to finish your papers, okay, you just give it to a mandoob. Some people who knows this word here in a Gulf country, for example, you need to do your insurance for the car. Instead of you going and taking the car and do the registration and then approve it, you just give it to a person called mandoob. He does everything for you. He goes and pay the bill for you. He takes the approval and the checking, and he does all the papers, and he brings everything ready on your door. This is your registration or whatever, renewal for the car and everything done. And he just needs, for example, for his tip 200 or 150, something like that. Khalas, this is mandoob. Mandoob means a person who does something. It's you call this person to do something. So this is what is mandoob in Arabic. And also that mandoob in Sharia, will come to understand it more. There is a differences between mandoob and wajib. And all the sisters, I think so, who studied Sharia, we're gonna refresh the students, and who doesn't know about it, we're gonna learn it today. Mandoob and wajib, they're different. They're different. And the differences between mandoob and wajib, it is not assertive. It is not assertive, meaning we are not asked to do it. We are asked to do it, but not in the level of wajib. We are asked to do it, but not in the level of wajib. And what is the effect? The effect of it, which usually everybody knows what is the effect of mandoob. Who does it, get thawab. Yani you will get the good deeds, get good thawab. Who leaves it, doesn't get a sin. So you will ask me, am I asked to do mandoob? So what it says about mandoob as an effect, you don't get sin. Everybody agrees, all the scholars agrees, you don't get sin. But there is a differences. Are you asked to do it or you're not asked to do it? Of course, when you do it, you will get thawab. This is everybody agrees. But am I asked to do it really? Or there is a different opinion regarding to this? This is what we're going to explain today. So not doing it is not a sin. But am I asked to do it? He's encouraging us to do it. This is what we're going to see, inshallah, in the evidence. And also here, mandoob has many titles. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave it many titles, like sadaqah as a charity, qurba. Qurba means to get closer to Allah, because the more you do the voluntary work, you're getting closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. Why you are doing that? Because you want to get more thawab. You want to get closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. Or sometimes this mandoob is called sunnah, or obeying, ta'a, like obeying Allah Azza wa Jal, whatever he said, or even whatever the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam he did in his life. I just want to obey. I want to do whatever the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, copying him and doing everything. We're not asked to do everything. There is some other things that you're not requested that much to do it, but it's like obeying. Whatever the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam he did, I would like to obey. I would like to do it. So this is obeying. It can be called fitra, natural thing that you do it by nature. You do it, okay? But the scholars, al-fuqaha, memorize this, al-fuqaha, the scholars of al-fuqaha, they say actually, no. Yes, there is a lot of names, but we have levels in mandoob. Mandoob has levels. Mandoob has levels. So what are the levels of mandoob? Comes as the first confirmed sunnah. So in the exam, so I will say the first level of mandoob, as in al-fuqaha view, I will say sunnah. It is a wrong answer. It shall be confirmed sunnah. Sunnah mu'akkada. Then sunnah. Then mustahab, preferable. Then nafila. So there are 4 categories for al-fuqaha. Al-fuqaha, they're saying a mandoob has variety of names, but those variety of names has different levels. The first one is confirmed, sunnah mu'akkada. Second one, sunnah. Third one, mustahab, preferable means. Number 4 is nafila. So what are the differences between them? Let us know what are they. Confirm sunnah. Confirm sunnah, which you know it, sunnah mu'akkada, what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ also he did, he never left it. For example, Fajr sunnah. The prayer we prayed before the Fajr, the 2 rak'ah sunnah, this is confirmed sunnah because the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to do it. And he never left it. So this is confirmed sunnah. So it doesn't mean that if you leave it, you're going to commit a sin. No. But this is confirmed sunnah. He used to do it. He never left it. So whatever the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ he did, we are following him. And the second thing is witr. Witr. If you remember witr, whoever who studied for today's exam, witr, it is from the wajib for Hanafiya. But it is for, yes, wajib for Hanafiya, but for Shafi'i and the other madhab, it is what? Who can answer? Again, shall I ask again the question? Witr prayer, it is fard for the Hanafi, but for the Shafi'i, is it fard? No one? So how was the exam today?
Kifaya?
It is what? Kifaya? No, nothing from that. It has nothing to do with that. Witr prayer, it is fard or sunnah mu'akkada or wajib for the Shafi'i. Witr prayer. Okay, witr prayer, it is sunnah mu'akkada, confirmed sunnah for the Shafi'i and Hanafi and Hanbali. But for Hanafi, he is saying it is wajib. Why he's saying wajib? Because the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to do it. He never left it, whether he was traveling or he was by being there or by traveling. He is always doing the witr. Anyway, so what we are explaining about the confirmed sunnah here, confirmed sunnah as a degree in the fuqaha. Again, I will remind you here, the fuqaha, if anything that the material which it's not clear, you can ask sisters. Okay, from the fuqaha here, we said al-fuqaha, they have levels in mandoob. The first one is confirmed. The second one is sunnah. The third one is mustahab. Then we have the nafila. So we are explaining now what is sunnah mu'akkada. What are the examples? Okay. Okay. So the confirmed sunnah such as Fajr sunnah, witr, dhuha prayer, aqiqah. You know aqiqah, whoever who attended the class of the sunnah etiquettes, we explained about the aqiqah. Aqiqah is the parents, if they have a child, the male child or female child, after the 7th day, they are cleaning the child, cutting the hair, giving a name, and also doing aqiqah, slaughtering at that day. So if it is a boy, they slaughter two goats or 2 sheep or a type of a cattle, and for the female, they slaughter only 1. Okay. So this is called aqiqah. So aqiqah, it is sunnah mu'akkada, it is confirmed. And slaughtering for Eid al-Adha, and also who also attended for the sunnah etiquettes with me. So you know about the Eid al-Adha, in the Eid, they do slaughtering. It's not Eid al-Fitr, we do it in Eid al-Adha. We don't do slaughtering in Eid al-Fitr. It's not required from us to do it, but it's required from us. If we want to do it, it is on Eid al-Adha. It is not wajib, it is not fard, but this is sunnah, confirmed sunnah. Fasting the 6th of Shawwal, also it is confirmed. All right, we go to the sunnah. What are the sunnah then? If this is confirmed, so what is the sunnah? Sunnah is fasting Ashura, because we're still in Muharram, we didn't end Muharram yet. So fasting Ashura, it is sunnah. Fasting 3 days each month. And this one, madmada and istinshaq, when you do the wudu, you put in your nose and in your mouth. So this is sunnah. Okay, and when we come to regarding to fiqh, you will find there is things that is required from us as wajib, and there is another things that is required as fard. But this is as sunnah, we follow the sunnah, the steps of the sunnah. So we'll come to it, yani we'll not argue about this now. Mustahab, preferable. Preferable means where the scholars have different views. Scholars have different views. It doesn't mean that their theory it is wrong, but they have different theories. For example, mustahab, in Hanafi, he's saying they don't raise their hand in janazah. But the others, the jumhur, what do we mean by jumhur? Anybody can tell me what does it mean, jumhur? Hanafi, he said, preferable not to raise the hand in takbir, Allahu Akbar, in the janazah. Yani like, it's not a salah, so he doesn't make it as a salah, the real salah. So he doesn't raise. So the jumhur, what's the meaning of jumhur? The jumhurs, they say it's okay to do takbir, Allahu Akbar. Anybody can tell me what does jumhur means? I wonder, how did you do the exams? Shall I call by names the students who got full marks? What does jumhur means? If I said Hanafi, he had a view, so jumhur means? All right. So it is your assignment, I would say. Let us make it as an assignment, inshallah. All right. We continue. Nafila. What does nafila means? Any sunnah, sharia didn't talk about it, but it is confirmed by qiyas. Anybody can explain what is qiyas for me, at least? Okay, this is strange. I'm not sure if the sisters, they're around actually. All right, so qiyas, fasting. Yes, Matar, تفضلي.
Qiyas, Arabic words, meaning in Islamic law, analogical reasoning as applied to the deduction of juridical principles from the Quran and Sunnah.
From our explanation in our lessons, what did we explain about qiyas? Give me an example. Yani we didn't go with that explanation in the meaning, but we just explained it as an example. Give me an example of qiyas. All right. Yes.
It's a method that they used, the scholars, to guess another rulings that are not specifically mentioned in Quran and Sunnah. I don't remember exactly the example, but I think it was related to the general evidence. I'm not sure.
Okay, barakallahu fiki. Yani you're almost near, as she says, she explained. Qiyas,
I think
something,
maybe
yes.
It was related to the part that says, for example, follow what the prophet says.
It's about fasting in Ramadan.
I don't remember.
Qiyas is fasting Ramadan. So what is wajib then and fard? All right, as Sister Flor, she said, it's about something, we don't have a rule about it. For example, I gave an example for the alcohol. The alcohol and the drugs, the bad drugs. So the bad drugs, it's not written in the Quran, neither in the Sunnah. This is a new thing happened later on. It wasn't there since the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ days. So they saw the effect of the drugs. It is similar to the alcohol. Both of them is affecting the brain. So they evaluated and equal it or measured it as the alcohol. Then drugs is haram. This is what is the meaning of qiyas. Okay? And you have a homework for Jumhur, because this is really strange, but nobody is remembering what is Jumhur. It is two-sided. The first side, I said Hanafi. So the remaining of madhab, how many people they will be remaining? How many madhab will be remaining after that? You shall know, right? Yes, Sister Ramzan.
3 persons.
Pardon?
3 persons remaining.
Yes, which are?
Maliki, Hanbali, Sanafi.
Barakallahu fiki. You get 2 points.
Yeah.
All right. So fasting Wednesday, Tuesday, it is not required. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, actually, he fasted each Monday and each Thursday. But if you want to do Tuesday and Wednesday, that is not allowed. You can do it, but this is nafila. For example, people who prayed Maghrib prayer and they want to pray again. The first prayer, it is fard. It is required from you. The second one, it is nafila. Who repeated the Maghrib again, this is nafila. Something, it is not haram. If you want to do it, it's up to you, but Sharia didn't talk about it. Like for the charity, for example, for a person or sadaqah, you saw somebody's walking on the street and you saw his the way how he's wearing or something, it showed in him that he needs help. So you approached this person and you gave him whatever you have. This is nafila. It is not required from you to do it, but if you would like to do it, it's up to you. Allah Azza wa Jal, He gives you ajr for that. There is places which Allah, He asks you to do it. And there is places which it is open doors for you if you want to do it, or if you don't want to do it, you don't get sins. If you saw a person who is in need and you didn't give him the money, it's up to you. Allah Azza wa Jal, He will not punish you saying that you saw that person, you didn't give him the money. But it's not required from you, neither the Prophet, he didn't say do it, or even Allah Azza wa Jal, He didn't say do it. But Allah Azza wa Jal, He opened the doors for us to see the things, the good things. You want to do it, do it. If you don't want to do it, it's up to you. Okay? So we go next slide, inshallah. We don't want to make it long. Okay. So now we're asking this question again. Did Allah Azza wa Jal, He ask us to do mandoob? Now from the explanation which we said, is it required from us to do it? Hanafi says we are not asked to do it. But once we do it, preferable to continue doing it, not to break it. And we'll come to it in the coming slide as I wrote it here. And what is the evidence of Hanafi saying that it is not asked from us to do the mandoob? This is the evidence from for example, siwak. Siwak. Anybody knows what is siwak?
Cleaning the mouth by using the swak.
Yes. Barakallahu fiki. So siwak is something that since the Prophet days, they used to clean their teeth with. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he said, if it was cheap to be brought and my ummah or my people, they can have it, because they were poor people. They weren't capable to have it. So if it will not be difficult to my people to do it and to make it or to do it all the time, I would recommend or say that it is a must. but actually he couldn't say it is a must. The meaning, it is not required from the people to do the siwak or to have it all the time, because he doesn't want to make it difficult to the people. So the evidence of the siwak, if it is not a trouble to my ummah to do it, I will ask them to do it. But the meaning of this sentence, it is not required from the people to do it. So this is what Hanafi says as an evidence. It is not a must. It's not required from us to do it. But Jumhur, who are Jumhur? Which already she explained, Sister Ramzani, barakallahu fiha. Jumhur, other than Hanafi, يعني we have four madhab: Shafi'i, Hanafi, Hanbali, Maliki, four. So if one of them disagree, then the three remaining of them, they are the Jumhur. يعني Shafi'i, Hanbali, Maliki, they are from this, the second category. Hanafi, he said his statement, he said, it is not asked to do mandub. But Jumhur, he says, we are asked to do it, with the coming evidence in the coming slide. So what Jumhur says? Jumhur, are we asked to do the mandub, which it is the sunnah? Are we asked to do the sunnah? Sunnah mu'akkada or sunnah, the normal sunnah or mustahab or nafila? Are we asked to do it? They chose the surah, Surah Al-Nahl, ayah number 90. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى. In Surah Al-Nahl, number 90, the ayah. So he says, Allah Azza wa Jal, God recommended justice and goodness and generosity towards relatives. All right. So if we take this ayah, God commands justice. Now we don't have any objection regarding to justice. Justice has to be in everything. We are requested to do the justice in everything, in dealing with the families, in talking to the people, in people's rights, in everything. But are we asked to do goodness as a must? Not always. There is some goodness it's required from us, and some goodness is not required from us. So it is mandoob. But Allah Azza wa Jal, he's saying in his ayah, God recommends this and this and this. So Jumhur says, yes, it is required from us to do mandoob. Okay? Jumhur says it is required from us to do the mandoob because of this explanation and this ayah. But Hanafi, he says, no, it's not required from us. For example, as a siwak, they took as an example. But all of them, they agree that if I don't do it, I don't get a sin. All of them, Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, Hanbali, all of them, they say, if I don't do the mandoob, all of them, they agree, it's not a sin. But we are just talking about, is it required for me to do it, preferable to do it or not? So Hanafi is saying, no need. If you don't want to do it, it's up to you. Jumhur says, Shafi'i says, Hanbali, Maliki, they said, do it. It's recommended to do it. Preferable to do it. Now, since now the two of them, they have this kind of theories. So again, does it enter to wajib category? Are we requested to do it again? We ask again. So can it be in the level of a must? I have to do it. Is it required from me? The first statement, yes, it is required from me to do it. In what statement? You remember the statement which I told you, Hanafi, he said, it's not recommended from you to do it, but preferable if you continue. Once you are in it, you have to continue. So this is the statement which it comes here. So if I did it now, I did it. I fasted the voluntary word. Not Ramadan, I'm saying about the voluntary on Thursday. Now today I fast. Can I break my fast or not? What do you think? In the middle of the day, I said, I changed my mind. I don't want to continue fasting. Am I allowed to do that?
I think no.
No, you should continue.
You should continue, yeah.
Because you started, they have intention to do it. Then you must finish it.
Okay, so let's
I think
see.
you're allowed to do it.
Okay, so we have both parties having different answers. So Hanafi and Maliki this time, both of them, they agree about this statement regarding to continue to do it or not. So he says, obey God and obey the messenger and do not let your deeds to go waste. قوله أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول ولا تبطلوا أعمالكم in Surah Muhammad, ayah number 33. Allah again, he said, obey God and obey the messenger and do not let your deeds go to waste. So they took this evidence, the general evidence, because this is a general evidence. So they took this general evidence and they said, if you are willing to do the good, then you shall not stop the good, continue doing it. This is what Maliki and Hanafi says. But Shafi'i, the second group, Shafi'i and Hanbali, they say, no, it is not in the level of the must that you shall continue doing it once you are there. With what evidence? They say the voluntary fasting person is the ruler of himself. This is hadith. This is hadith. الصائم المتطوع أمير نفسه إن شاء صام وإن شاء فطر. So the person who does this voluntary fasting, it is upon himself, upon his wish. If he wants to continue, he continues, and if he wants to break it, it's up to him, because this is a voluntary fasting. And also, since the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ days, yani when he wakes up, he's like fasting. But he will come, Aisha radiallahu anha, she's saying, but if he will ask, there is food today? If there is no food today, he will say, khalas, I will continue fasting. If there is food, he could break his fast and eat something. So if we have two evidence, they contradict, or you don't know what to choose, then we take the specific evidence. You remember the specific? Because the specific evidence means I specified the statement inside. Like this statement talks about fasting only. This statement talks about general things, general deeds. If you do it, you have to continue. So if those two things contradict, then you go with the specific one, which more specified one. Okay, specified or specific evidence. So if you find contradiction between them, then you choose the specific one. You leave the general one, the general statement. Unless if we don't find any specific evidence, then we go with the general one. But if there is a specific one and it talks about the voluntary work, then we take what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ does. So it's up to you if you want to go with it or not, and you choose your path. If you want to continue, it's up to you. And if you would like to stop it, it's up to you. It's both ways, it's up to you. You don't get a sin if you leave it. But preferable, as Maliki and Hanafi, they say, continue doing it. Why shall you break it? Since you start the good deed, continue the good deed. The other one is like, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. For example, I was fasting in the middle of somewhere, I start feeling dizzy and so on. I couldn't go ahead with it. So preferable, I break it. Or it's up to me. Or today I fasted thinking that it is Thursday and it is not, and it is Wednesday, for example. Then it's up to you if you want to break it or you want to continue doing it. And inshallah, this is for today. Barakallahu fikum wa jazakumullah khairan. I will remind some of the sisters again regarding to the exam. We said we changed the schedule. You're going to have next week midterm from lecture 1 to 6. And whoever didn't do quiz 1 and quiz 2 and quiz 3, they shall do it in the midterm day, and then everything will be closed. And as we say, the midterm, whatever we do in the midterm, it will not come in the final exam. And the final exam, we changed the timing or the days. Sorry, we changed the days. It's going to be on the first quiz is going to be on the 25th of September. The second quiz, inshallah, in the October, and whatever the remaining, it will be for the final exam. So we try to make it more earlier, the exam to be in 16th of October instead of November, if possible. And then we'll give the chance on the 23rd for the students, whomever who didn't make it or who didn't do very well in scoring. So we'll give another opportunity to do it again, inshallah. And then we're going to announce in the end of October, or in October in general, we'll announce the results, inshallah, as a final. And as we promise again to the students, they are allowed only to redo one quiz if they want to improve their marks. Only one quiz is allowed to redo, not all of them. So if you want to do till the end or whatever you want to choose, if you want us to recommend you, if, for example, the quiz she failed like below 5 marks, then we will recommend the student, okay, you need to do your the exam again or the quiz again. This is for today. Barakallahu fikum wa jazakumullahu khairan. And inshallah, I will be checking your marks and we will be sending your results in your emails. I hope you received quiz 1 and quiz 2 in your emails. If anybody didn't receive, please confirm if you didn't receive your quiz results on the email. Okay. Barakallahu feekum wa jazakumullahu khairan. Thank you for attending today. Inshallah, next week we're going to have midterm. If you have any objection, you can go ahead and we'll remind you. We will have an open day for the exam. We can start even since the morning, whoever wants to have the exam. So you have the full day. You can do the exam till the night or the second day after. Like you're going to have a full 2 days or 3 days to do the midterm, inshallah. But we're going to have a lecture next week on the 4th, on the 20th. Is it going to be in the 25th? No, on the 11th of September, sorry. And 11th of September next week, we're going to have lecture and midterm. So midterm can start since the morning if you would like. We can announce you're ready to do the exam. Who can do it in any time, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum wa jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, teacher.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.